I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
One of the greatest philosophy books have ever read. Seneca. These great philosophers say that you want to keep good authors close to the heart and reread those good authors, reread those great works instead of trying to read everything you can get your goddamn fingertips on. This is one of the books I choose to read every single year. But Seneca, he's the reason why I'm still here. Letters to a Stoic by Seneca, the great Seneca. I mean, this dude was an epic human being. He lived an epic life, not the most philosophical life. Once you learn more about the actual author, it kind of breaks the greatness of the work because the work is truly just a masterpiece. Once you get to know who Seneca was as a human being, it kind of breaks you inside. He was like the right hand man, the philosopher, like the mentor, the wizard behind a king, and that king was Nero, one of the most horrific, horrible kings in the Roman Empire. Let's talk about the book. It is a collection of essays, but they are letters that he sends to a friend. The friend is Lucilius, and he's basically just reflecting on life, talking about philosophy, what he's doing at his retirement age. This is towards the end of his life, how he is dealing with and what his big thoughts are on the big questions of life. Three major things I'd like to talk to you about. Number one, just the practicality of the philosophy that Stoicism is. I absolutely love how Seneca speaks to you about philosophy. You open a philosophy book today and they making you do these grand mind theories and thoughts and imaginations and fucking bullshit. When Seneca talks about philosophy, he's talking about what is the best way to live your life today. Not what are the biggest questions in the history of the universe. Sure, that is philosophy, and that's somebody else's philosophy. But the philosophy that is Stoicism is a philosophy of how you live your goddamn day-to-day life, and he makes it the most chewable, the most actionable, the most relatable, and he does it fucking flawlessly. Every time I go through this book, there's new highlights, there's new things I'm seeing every single year. I go through this book, there's always something I'm like, damn, this dude just knows what's going on. And number two, the role of philosophy in a person's life. He emphasizes on the fact that philosophy is a guide as to how to live your life. Not so much like something that you do in an armchair. It's not something that you argue about. It's not something that you use to make great conversation. It's a guide to what you do when you wake up in the morning and you feel like, fuck it, I don't want to do the workout and I want to just be a bum. What should I do when someone dies in my family? This is going to sound crazy. And the thing that I want to focus on when I'm reviewing this book this year is friendship. Because it's wild to me that it never hit me this hard at how much he speaks about friendship in this book. You'd say, Q, are you stupid? Seneca, in the book, he's sending letters to his friend Lucilius. How did you not know that or notice the massive theme of friendship throughout the book? I don't know, because prior to this year, I wasn't struggling with what to do when you aren't as close as you'd like to be with your friends. I'm a young dad, and it just hit me chapter after chapter. He keeps coming back to why you need friends, what friendship means in someone's life, and what friendship means in a virtuous person's life, in a philosopher's life. Life is short. I haven't spent the right amount of time with my friends this year, and just reading through this book, it was like, holy shit. And what he mentions in this book, what Seneca talks about in this book, he talks about what the most enriching aspects of life are, and friendship is such a big portion of his life. Seneca's a father. He's a fucking right-hand man to the king. He had, like, probably you could say the second or third most important job on the fucking planet. But the thing he goes back to every single chapter is friendship, why you need friends, the importance of friends in somebody's life. And just reading through this book, it reminded me, just pick up your phone and call your bro, say what's up. There are two quotes I did want to mention to you about friendship that Seneca does talk about. Associate with those who will make you better and welcome those who you yourself can improve. And you might think, just reading that short quote, being like, well, isn't that everyone in the fucking world? Do you want me to be friends with everybody on the planet? No, he then goes on and explains what the difference is between someone you actually can make better or someone that is so, I don't want to say beneath you, but in any specific characteristic, right? Your friends at work. If someone that you work with is so beneath you that trying to get them to your level is going to mean you need to stop doing your job, that's not what you call a colleague or a friend at work. That's just an acquaintance. You say hi, you say bye, you cordial, you're a nice person, whatever. If you're just starting out, your friend isn't the fucking CEO. No, he's too busy. He can't make you better. Maybe someday that big baller can make you better. But right now, you want to talk about the immediate folks above you, the immediate folks below you, the ones that you can actually grow with together. That's just like the cherry on top of a great chapter. You know, like this is the first year that going through this, there are specific letters that I would recommend to folks, because prior to this, I just read this through from beginning to end. A lot of other philosophy books or a lot of books that are nonfiction, whenever I go back to them each year, I go back to specific chapters, go back to specific parts of a book. But this book is something that you really just do want to start from the beginning and go through it. Every single chapter, every single page, there's just nuggets of greatness. On the depth of a friend, and this is probably my favorite quote on the topic that hit me the most this year. If you consider any man a friend whom you do not trust as you trust yourself, you are mightily mistaken, and you do not sufficiently understand what true friendship means. And in this letter, he goes into the details as to explaining why it's so important for you to be able to have another human being that you are able to share all of your deepest, darkest secrets, and also when it is reasonable or rational to actually share some of those deep, dark secrets or some of your biggest faults. Obviously, you want to live a life where there is nothing about your life where you feel like even an enemy couldn't know about you and make you worse off of where you are. You want to live that kind of open and responsible and virtuous life. But at the same time, you have to be smart about sharing that information. People who share so much or share too much, who's willing to just talk all day, is just as bad as someone who's not willing to share anything with anyone ever. Those two are the most extremes, and obviously you don't want to be at those ends, right? You want to be smart about who you share what with and what you share who with. I feel like I'm going on deep tangents about very specific things. After reading this book, I was like, yes, I felt like 2024 was a really good year for me. I did do really big things, and I made huge steps in my life, and I had a really good goddamn time, but I hadn't focused on friendship. All I'm trying to share with you to remind you and myself, obviously, friends are very important. And this is a man that has lived a life less than a handful of human beings have ever lived, ever. He's got to see the greatest aspects of the world during his time. But he was also born with an illness that made him want to commit suicide, and the only reason he didn't do it is because he didn't want to leave his friends behind. In the book, he mentions about there's a time for everything and whatever, but it's also the reality of the situation is Nero was going to probably kill everyone around him and did end up causing him to kill himself. But sidetrack. He mentions that friends are the thing he comes back to after living the greatest life ever. So I know just today's world, it's so hard. Everyone is working so goddamn hard. Everyone wants to do so much. Everyone wants to do the best for themselves and the very small people that are around them, aka their family. But I just want to put a reminder out there. Pick up Letters to a Stoic. It's a great fucking read. Life-changing, and it will sit with you as long as you can remember. You read any philosophy prior to the 19th century, and no one speaks very detailed about friendship, family, relationships. It's always books about these big ideas. And remember, I am honestly, truthfully ignorant to the massive world of philosophy. I stick to a very specific type of philosophy. But all I'm saying is this philosophy that I read, that comes into my life, all of it are big questions. All of it is how to make yourself better. In this book, it speaks so well, so much as to how to be a good human being in a society, how to give to the world that gave you everything. And friendship is such a big part of that. And I had a really good time reading through this book. It made me want to call a friend. I recommend that you call a friend after watching this video. Letters from a Stoic by Seneca, the great Seneca. And I'll catch you next year doing the same thing. Deuces.